about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877-DOC-DALI. All right, so listen, the last 2 years, my medical predictions didn't go. I'll call it. I'll say it. Yeah, listen, in medicine, we struggle, right? Right? It's an evolving science. So if the medical predictions didn't call it, I had money on the Seahawks, so I was still happy, but the medical statistics said the Patriots were supposed to win. I think somebody needs to also get rid of that idea that white uniforms, right, predict the winner. I think that's ridiculous, although that really isn't a part of my medical predictions. I was looking more at the right shoulder injury versus oblique and things like that. But I'll call it, hey, I have no problem admitting when something's wrong. But that's why I bet on the Seahawks. So hey, remember, it's do as I say and not as I do. No, I told you guys to be careful. Don't definitely put money on something that is based on my theories. The halftime show, very interestingly, I saw the Bad Bunny halftime show. I saw part of the alternative halftime show. Millions of people apparently watch the alternative halftime show. The Bad Bunny show. Bad Bunny, I have to say, he's pretty talented. This guy is pretty talented. I didn't know much about his music recently. We have family who is Puerto Rican, and so I know of him. I just didn't necessarily, I haven't really followed his career. The halftime show was actually one of the better ones in that, there it was, considering, I like Kendrick, or I like The Weeknd and things like that, but there was. It was there was a lot of work put into this, with the scenery and with the dancing. There was a lot of cameos, Pedro Pascal, Jessica Alba, Cardi. I mean, there were a lot of, so it was a lot of work put into it. In fact, it looks like Bad Bunny and his team incorporated the flower of Puerto Rico. I think Lady Gaga was wearing a dress that was supposed to accompany that. They brought a lot of culture, Puerto Rican culture, brought up, I didn't understand everything he said, but he was bringing up, Venezuela, Colombia, he was bringing up much of Latin America in his performance. It was in Spanish. And so for those of us who, I understood a good part of it. Some people we were watching the Super Bowl with, didn't understand it. So we were kind of translating, there was a lot of love. He was talking about his novia, his girlfriend. He was talking about, there was a lot of romance themes, but yeah, there were, definitely political undertones. I don't want politics in my football. But he's pretty talented. And I have to admit, as far as halftime shows, this was better than other ones. But one thing that keeps, I guess, coming up that Americans are struggling with is not being able to have, shall we say, English as the language used. And so many people found frustration with Bad Bunny's performance because they couldn't understand it. Now, with Latino culture and music and all that, I understand Despacito. They did both Spanish and English in that, and I understand people really, really like that because they could then understand a lot of the, pasito, pasito, suave, suave, sweet. I understand people want, to sing the, Spanish, but they also want, to understand what the lyrics are. And, in America, many people are kind of struggling that there's signs, there's things that they don't understand. And when people don't understand the language, they feel very, insecure. I used to say this years ago, Arnold Schwarzenegger, being a badass that he is, I am sure, sometimes feels a little insecure when he's in a foreign country and he doesn't understand the language. It's you do feel you feel weaker when you don't understand another language. And so I think one of the big issues that people felt with the halftime show is that weakness of, I couldn't understand it. I don't know what he was saying. He could have been saying something, and he was not calling to arms. He was not doing any of that people expected. I mean, it was a beautiful halftime show. It was about love. It was about the Puerto Rican culture and all that. But people feel everybody's on edge right now. Everybody's all, and it's because we're in this situation that I do blame Biden for, in terms of the border, and we do have cartel members and individuals, not everybody, but a lot of criminals did come over, and it put people in this state of feeling insecure, and so now we have a very, very vibrant American culture that, and we have a lot of Latinos in our family, but we have many individuals that just don't understand Spanish and they don't speak Spanish. And if America's primary language is English, why aren't we hearing English? And it's frustrating people. And this frustration might be misguided, against Bad Bunny per se, because the halftime show was a good show, but people want English to still be the primary language of America. And so when something isn't in English, they get frustrated. I also think that what happened is people are still putting politics first as it pertains to football or pertains to anything. And so there was this little bit of a side war going on or competition of who was going to watch the alternative show and who was going to watch Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny representing Democrats. I don't think Bad Bunny was representing Democrats. Bad Bunny was representing Puerto Rico, and he did a great job. But people want to know if their side is winning. They want to know if their side is shall we say, the side of the majority. And I think we with politics are very divided. I think it's going to be a razor thin election in the midterms. I think it's going to be razor thin with the 2028. I mean, usually the pendulum, switches and steers the other direction. But I think the Super Bowl needs to, be apolitical, but it just, everybody right now is on edge. And I didn't see that calm down yesterday, and I wish it did. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making this show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So I love the Olympics, and the Winter Olympics is one of my favorites. So I'm very, very excited. USA, I believe, has won gold in the team. I think it was the team figure skating I was watching, and I think downhill skiing. I need to look that up. Norway is leading with 3 gold medals, 6 medals overall. They have 1 silver, 2 bronze. Switzerland comes next, USA, Austria, Italy, then Japan and Germany. It's really, really early on, but pretty impressive in terms of what we're seeing and what these Olympians can do. It just kind of got started. I kind of wish it would happen after Super Bowl, because I was really trying to get into the Super Bowl, but I couldn't help and stop watch. I had to watch Olympics. And so, and by the way, we already kind of spoke about the 2028 Olympics. For those of you wanting to go to the Olympics in America, which I do believe you should do. This is our country. It's a little difficult to get tickets. It's also going to be even more difficult to get hotel rooms. From what we understand, I mean, we are looking at back-breaking prices, because I think many of these chains are going to take advantage, and they have to pay their staff more. So they're already kind of warning us. Now that they have to pay their staff $30 an hour, they're going to be charging us a lot. So for those of us with an RV, we might be RVing down to LA. But to get tickets, it's not going to be very easy. We gave you the link. I also posted it on my Twitter last week, where there's a lottery. And so you put your name down for a lottery. You tell them which country you're the most interested in. I'm the most interested in USA. I love watching all of them, but I definitely want to be there. I'm going to pay for tickets, if they're not too expensive, for the days that the Americans are competing, obviously, because I want to be there to support America. That's kind of why I'm going. And then they ask you, I think, for your top 5 sports. And so I think each lottery will allow you up to 12 tickets. So if you get your whole family to put in, that could afford you a lot of tickets. So if your friends don't get them, you could then at least hopefully have your friends give you money. Don't buy your friends the tickets, because I doubt. I think they're going to be pretty expensive. Make your friends pay. Well, I guess we find out in March or April if those of us who put in for the lottery will be able to get tickets. One thing I do agree with that they're doing is locals will have access first. And this is something I wish in Las Vegas they did with Allegiant Stadium and T-Mobile and things like that. I mean, luckily with the Golden Knights, it's pretty easy to get tickets. But when it came to Super Bowl, I was really frustrated with the way they handled the Super Bowl in Las Vegas. Very unattainable for most Vegas folk, unless you were ultra rich. And that stinks. I think they should have allowed some locals to be able to go. So, I'm still kind of salty about that one. But at least with in California, they're going to allow locals. And some of the Olympics are going to be done, I believe, in Kentucky. So they are allowing individuals to be able to access those events. Lindsey Vonn. I was worried about her when she had an injury weeks and then days before her downhill run. We saw her fall. I'm not sure if she clipped the flag, if it was her hand, or if it was just the way. I thought her knee gave out. That's when I was looking at the video. But unfortunately, 41-year-old Olympian, multiple gold medalist winner, unfortunately had to be taken to intensive care following her leg injury on Sunday's alpine skiing downhill. She had a ruptured ACL and was wanting to still represent America. So proud of her. I'm a big fan of hers. However, it was her arm that looks like caught one of the gates or flags, caused her to crash 13 seconds into the race, and then her Olympic dreams and possibly her Olympic career may be over. She landed hard on her right leg, tumbled down the mountain. Medical crews had to airlift her out. Now, Reuters is revealing she actually had a right leg fracture. Underwent, so this wasn't not only like a strain of her or a sprain of her ligaments. Strain is a muscle injury. Sprain is a ligament injury. People always ask the difference: strain versus sprain. Sprain is a ligament injury, and strain is a muscle. You think a muscle tear? That's how you remember strain with the T. Unfortunately, Lindsey Vonn had a fracture, a serious right leg fracture, according to Reuters. Underwent 2 operations following a crash. Then surgeries were done to prevent complications linked to swelling and blood flow. They obviously want to make sure she doesn't now get a DVT. She's in stable conditions, but from what I understand, not only are American physicians taking care of her, Italian physicians, very, very cool. But I think she went into the ICU. I know people are really freaked out about that because we usually put people into the ICU when they're in very, very critical condition, when we're worried about them, compensating, when we worry about them going into respiratory distress, cardiac failure. From what I understand, she went into the ICU so she could have more privacy. And I've seen that happen where certain high level floors or rooms get used so that these people can have a little bit more privacy. When I trained at UCLA, there were stars all the time going into the hospital. And even though everybody should be very, very professional as it pertains to healthcare, we have seen healthcare workers not professional. It's a shame that some of them exist, where they're going to keep walking by the room, or they're going to keep checking on you, or they're going to keep, and when you're sick and recovering and you're in a vulnerable state, and you're worried someone's going to try to see you naked or whatever, it's not easy. And again, healthcare professionals have a code of ethics. But we've heard time and time again, I think Britney Spears was in the hospital and somebody was going into her chart. And sadly, humans are humans. And we unfortunately see some of that behavior. So Vonn was actually in retirement. She came out of retirement November 2024. And then she crashed and ruptured her ACL just days before the race. Not to mention had an injury prior to that. And, she, in her interview, said she was going to still compete. She felt good. She even showed a video of her doing squats and her doing stretches and her knee looking strong. But, for those of you that have never skied, it's not for the weak. Skiing is, I ski still, but with my knees, I take it easy. I don't do black diamonds anymore. And in fact, one of the reasons why is because that's how I injured my first knee. I was a runner, but it wasn't until in the 90s when I was doing a black diamond, hit a mogul, and somehow hit it wrong, and then I heard the pop, and I hurt my right knee really bad. I had to be tobogganed down the slope because I couldn't walk, and then no fracture, but I was put in a brace. I ended up not needing surgery. I ended up doing physical therapy, although my own physical therapy, because I didn't have time in medical school. You didn't get time off to go to physical therapy. So I did my own physical therapy. And with my right knee, I did fine. And what's so fascinating is my left knee I injured. Remember, I slipped on a dollop of cat gravy from cat food because I think one of the dogs, or maybe my husband, put the food out and didn't realize that, there was something on the floor and that was very slippery. And so I slipped, popped my knee, hurt my knee bad. And the arthritis in the secondly injured knee is much worse than the first, meaning I must have compensated so much that my other knee is worse than the first. So, for those of you that want a wake-up call on how bad your joints are, get an MRI. It's very enlightening, and I'm really on the verge of knee replacements. And I'm like, really? I'm too young for that, but it's going to happen. And that's from wear and tear and sports and everything I've done. However, I noticed the more I exercise, I feel better. Like when I was hiking, there's the High Park off the Nepali Coast, on the Nepali Coast in Kauai. Very moderate to intense hiking. No pain at all. Going uphill. Going downhill, my knees are hurting. So there's certain movements I could do. Uphill's always easier for a lot of us with knee injuries than downhill, because of the angle and because of where we might have torn some cartilage and where the arthritis is. But I notice the more I exercise, the less pain I'm in. But I got to tell you, man, I need some WD-40 in those because they're aching. So, seeing Lindsey Vonn, with her injuries and still, attempting the Olympics, I would have done the same thing. I know people say, well, she should have let the alternate go. honestly, Vaughn's been training for this. She felt her knees were strong. She showed videos that her knees were strong. But unfortunately, when you ski, there's so many different aspects, different things that could cause your injury. And that if you don't have the stability you need, and with skiing, it's all about that stability. I never learned to snowboard. Snowboard was just getting popular when I was learning how to ski. And when I was skiing, I love skiing so much, I never learned to snowboard, plus the injuries that people get on their shoulders and arms, and I just couldn't do that as a doctor. But I'm sure with snowboarding, there's, their fair share of injuries as well. So prayers to Lindsey Vonn. Don't go away. We'll be right back. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Welcome back, everybody. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOCDALI. So let's lighten things up. I got some really, really bad news this weekend I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but I want to lighten things up. And one topic I love to always read about are who were the actors that were supposed to be playing these iconic roles before they turned it down. And then we have the iconic characters, and thank God they did. Like, for example, Eddie Murphy was not Axel Foley originally. There was somebody else that was supposed to be Axel Foley. And I'm like, no way. Same thing with Bruce Willis and Die Hard. Bruce Willis was not the original John McClane. Can you imagine Beverly Hills Cop or Die Hard with somebody different? In fact, Forrest Gump was not originally Tom Hanks. Bill Murray turned that role down. Thank God, because I think Tom Hanks did a fantastic job winning an Academy Award. So this article caught my eye. I love this stuff. Actors who turned down massive roles. Why? Because they hated the script. So there's that extra piece to that. Not only did it just not work out, but they hated the script. You guys are going to love this one. Who was supposed to be Han Solo? So let's start. All right. I know all these by heart, but I want to read them because I want to also give credit where credit is due. So the article is coming from, TMDB, right? No. Okay, come on, guys. I need to give credit where credit's due. Let me see where this is. Fiction Horizon. Sorry, guys, I'm talking to myself. All right. So, Lord of the Rings. Many of us already kind of know the backstory of Lord of the Rings. Gandalf was supposed to be Sean Connery. Stuart Townsend was the original Aragorn, but for some reason they didn't like the script. I think Stuart Townsend was having some issues with Pete Jackson with Lord of the Rings, and Sean Connery, I believe he didn't really, follow the story too well. Let me see if I have any direct quotes from him. He read the books and the script, but stated he did not understand the concept of the story. Really, Sean Connery is Gandalf. So he and Stuart Townsend end up going to do League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Well, yeah, it was a movie. I saw it. It wasn't that good. Meanwhile, we got Sir Ian McKellen, and then we got Viggo Mortensen. Viggo did good. By the way, just really quickly with some Lord of the Rings actors who were supposed to be Aragorn or Strider. Daniel Day-Lewis was in the running for that. Russell Crowe, Nicolas Cage, Van Diesel. Can you believe that? Thank God they ended up going for, I think what happened with Viggo Mortensen is they called, Viggo Mortensen had not read the books. yet, but his son Henry did. And he's like, Dad, that's cool. You got to do this. And then they went out and auditioned, and he got the part. He was fantastic. Gandalf, David Bowie was considered for Gandalf, Patrick Stewart, Patrick McGowan. But thank God they went with Ian McKellen. Frodo Baggins, they actually thought of Jake Gyllenhaal to do that. I hope I'm pronouncing his name. Boromir, Bruce Willis. He lobbied for this role, but his chances died hard. He was going to be Boromir. Liam Neeson, they also considered that. So anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. So thank God they came up with the cast that they did. But yeah, Sean Connery would have been Gandalf. Next, we have Will Smith. Will Smith was approached for Neo in The Matrix. And he chose doing Wild Wild West instead. He said he felt the screenplay was more straightforward and entertaining. He later admitted that he would have ruined the film. He thought he would have ruined Matrix because he did not grasp the philosophical concepts at the time. Now, he still became big and huge, but he would have been a good Neo. Now, hi, you guys are going to love this one. Guess who was considered for Han Solo? Al Pacino. Al Pacino was going to be considered for Han Solo. Now, he would have done fantastic, but one thing about, Harrison Ford was I think he's sexier, and he kind of has that, he just has that swagger. Al Pacino has that, but Al Pacino thought that the Star Wars was too strange. He didn't think he could do justice to the character. Harrison Ford ended up getting it, and then, wow. Gene Hackman was being considered for Hannibal Lecter. Actually, he was offered it. And he thought the script was too violent and dark for his personal state, decided to withdraw, and then it went to Anthony Hopkins. I thought Gene Hackman could have done a great Hannibal Lecter. Lawrence Fishburne was offered the role of Pulp Fiction. In fact, when Quentin Tarantino wrote the role of Jules Winfield, he was thinking of Lawrence Fishburne at the time. He had that actor in mind. But Lawrence Fishburne didn't like the idea that heroin use was being glamorized. And he didn't want drug addiction to look attractive. Samuel Jackson takes on the role. Classic. Both of them are amazing. All right. Bruce Willis not only wanted to do Lord of the Rings, but he was offered to be in Ghost with his wife, Demi Moore. Now, this he turned down. He turned down Ghost. And it ended up going to Patrick Swayze. He said he read the script, did not understand how a romance movie about a ghost could possibly work. He thought the concept was dead on arrival, and he called the character a dead guy. Interestingly, that he did was like, you know what? I think with not A Fifth Element. What was the one? Sixth Sense. Then he's like, you know what? I think I'm going to play the dead guy. I think, yeah. So he changed his mind. I'm glad he didn't do Ghost, because then he was in The Sixth Sense, which I thought he did wonderful. I love Bruce Willis. Still have the biggest crush on him, and I hope he's doing well. I know he's struggling. Sylvester Stallone, guys. Sylvester Stallone, Rocky, was supposed to be Axel Foley in Beverly Hills Cop. I love Sly, but he's no Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy made Beverly Hills Cop. Eddie Murphy is Axel Foley. But Sylvester Stallone was originally cast. In fact, he rewrote the script to remove the comedy elements out, added more expensive action sequences. The studio refused to fund it. So 2 weeks before he left, thank God Eddie Murphy came in, because he's one of my favorites. Michael Keaton, I believe, was going to be Phil Connors in Groundhog Day. But he didn't like the idea of the man reliving the same day over and over again. And he thought that the studio didn't get the point, and he didn't do it, but Bill Murray did. Paul Newman was going to be Harry Callahan in Dirty Harry. That was interesting, but he thought the character's disregard for the law sent the wrong message to the audience. Clint Eastwood takes it on, and now there's Dirty Harry. Steve McQueen was apparently the role in Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Steven Spielberg had Steve McQueen in mind for that role. But he can't cry on cue. Steve McQueen said he could not cry on cue. And he told Spielberg that the script was good, but the emotional demands were not something he could deliver. Richard Dreyfuss ends up getting it. Wow. Now, Eddie Murphy was supposed to be in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. He was offered the role of Eddie Valiant, and he thought that mixing live action characters with cartoons was ridiculous. He believed the audience was not accept the blend of styles and passed on the project. Luckily, because of that move, he ends up going on to Shrek later, and I am so glad he's the donkey in Shrek. Even though that's not necessarily live action, he definitely opened up his mind as it pertains to doing these. But again, he could do no wrong. Love him. Ralph Macchio was supposed to be Marty McFly in Back to the Future. In fact, there was other characters that were going to be Marty McFly. He thought the script was too disjointed and wondered who would want to watch such a strange story. Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies of all time, next to Die Hard and Lord of the Rings. So Ralph Macchio turned it down. Hugh Jackman was going to be James Bond. We all thought Hugh Jackman would be an amazing James Bond. So he was approached to replace Pierce Brosnan in Casino Royale. He thought the scripts at the time were too unbelievable. And he told producers he would only be interested if the character became more grittier and more realistic. Then he went and focused on X-Men, which I think was great. In fact, him being Wolverine, they wanted Viggo Mortensen to be Wolverine. I love Viggo a lot, but it's a Hugh Jackman thing, Wolverine. So thank God that didn't turn out. Let me see if I have any more for you guys. Russell Crowe was offered the role of Wolverine in X-Men, but instead he didn't. Tom Cruise, Edward Scissorhands, Denzel Washington was asked to be the lead man in Seven, and Chevy Chase, American Beauty, Mickey Rourke, the Bruce Willis character in Pulp Fiction. Wow.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. You know, we've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hey, America. How tired are you of mainstream corporate media's biased narratives and manipulated news? Their dishonesty and attempts to influence this generation have been exposed, put on display for anyone who's even half paying attention. But the New American Magazine has been an honest source of news and commentary for over 50 years. This is your opportunity to receive the stalwart of principled journalism at a deep discount. Picture a beautifully published magazine arriving at your doorstep twice a month, packed with insightful stories written with integrity. It's also available digitally on the New American's mobile app. Get up to speed with intelligent coverage from a freedom perspective. Right now, for a limited time, the New American is available to radio listeners at a 25% discount on a new subscription. Visit thenewamerican.com/radio25 and receive 25% off. Subscribe today at thenewamerican.com/radio25.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dahlia, 1-877 DOCDALI. So we have some details on some cases. Do you remember the teenager who was on a Carnival cruise with her stepbrother and family? Apparently, the stepbrother of Anna Kepner, who was the Florida teenager who was found dead aboard a Carnival cruise ship line, has been charged with first-degree murder. Kepner was an 18-year-old cheerleader from Titusville, a coastal city near the JFK Space Center. Died while on a cruise on Carnival Horizon. Her body was found shoved under a bed on November 7th by a person cleaning the cabin. She was sharing that cabin with her stepbrother and another sibling. The ship returned to Port Miami on November 8th. Kepner's body was taken to the Miami-Dade County Medical Examiner's Office, according to USA Today, and it was ruled a homicide by several. Her death was ruled a homicide. And many outlets reported that the medical examiner determined Kepner died as a result of mechanical asphyxiation. Her mom found out that her daughter was dead and killed online, because apparently her biological mother is not in contact. And there's, I think, a restraining order between her and the ex. And she was with the ex, his new wife, and the stepchildren. Her mom, Heather Wright, said in a post on TikTok on February 6th that the teen's stepbrother was being charged with first-degree murder. And the 16-year-old was being investigated as a suspect. And from what we understand, Kepner's boyfriend had, the victim's boyfriend had, I guess, found him once on top of her while she was sleeping, and some creepy activity. And so now the 16-year-old younger brother is going to be charged. The father, Chris Kepner, confirmed to ABC News that the teen's stepbrother had been arrested and charged, has been released to the custody of a guardian. The FBI is investigating the case. And so the stepbrother appeared before a federal magistrate on February 6th with public defenders, prosecutors, and U.S. Marshals. And, when you look at this, there was this custody dispute, and there was, back and forth. We don't know much about the relationship between the two stepkids, but it's something that we all need to think about, where when you have families disrupted, and then they're forced to be with other people that now have to be their family and they don't want them to be, unfortunately, bad things can happen. And obviously, if this kid ends up being found guilty, this kid has major mental illness, anybody wanting to kill somebody. But you wonder if the girl picked up on, his creepiness, and some of the things that allegedly he had done. And if she told her dad, I don't want to be around him, I don't want to share a room with him, I don't want to, this is kind of a wake-up call to anybody who is merging families with another, that they better vet everybody in that family. You really need to vet everybody. Just because you're in love with somebody's mother or you're in love with the father doesn't mean the rest of the family are angels. And, sadly, if the stepbrother is found guilty, this dad put his daughter into harm's way. And I know the dad is going through a lot of grief, but I mean, how many times do people tell their parents, I don't like them, I don't like and now in their home are other individuals that they now have to be vulnerable around. They're now sharing bathroom space, shower space, sleeping space with individuals who they don't want to be around and could possibly be, imagine, meeting somebody, falling in love with them, and the kids are like, well, I don't like them, they're not mom, I don't like them, and you're like, well, you're going to have to make good. And they're like, I don't like their kids, I just don't like it. And so you start to kind of tune it out because they aren't happy. Well, you got to listen to them. Again, I don't know if she did alert her father that she got the heebie-jeebies from, and she didn't feel right and had a spidey sense about her stepbrother. But to be murdered by your stepbrother, and I'm assuming that wasn't who she really wanted to room with, puts the onus on the parents who decided, you know what? We're going to get together and the kids are just going to have to make do. And I know that's tough. Thank God Cora and I have never been divorced, but I always wondered what that would be like, who he would date, and if that person could hurt my kids, or if that person had siblings who could hurt my kids, or had children that, it's scary. But unfortunately, families break up all the time, and then they merge with other families, and you think it's going to be like the Brady Bunch, and no. Nancy Guthrie still missing, and the family is offering a very, very large amount of money. I believe now it's up to $6 million. Now they're looking at a lot of data. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old. She is the mom of NBC Today co-host Savannah Guthrie. There have been multiple ransom deadlines. The next one is today, set for 5 p.m. local time, Arizona time. The FBI offered a $50,000 reward. From what I understand, I believe the Guthrie family is offering $6 million. Now, there's been a lot of criticism of the Sheriff Nanos. I didn't have too much of an opinion, because I love our men in blue, women in blue. I really support our police, but I thought some of his original unfolding of the case and release of the crime scene and things like that was a little premature. And I just didn't get a really good vibe. I was like, is he on it, or is he, making, doing these press conferences because he really wants to be on camera? And then I guess, he deserves a day off, but, now that he's so well known, I guess he gets caught at a basketball game, right? While the mom is missing, you would think it was all hands on deck, everybody working, and Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos now is facing increased scrutiny because he was at the U of A Oklahoma State game. Now, I get, when you're a public official, you are going to be there to, support. You have other duties. I get that. But there's been a lot of questions as to why it's taken so long. And I think there's been additional cameras that were not on the first two sweeps confiscated and evaluated. And then I think it took a bystander that was looking at the Tucson home going, gosh, their roof is pretty clean. Their roof is pretty white. Maybe there was recent roofers that might need to also be, on the suspect list. I mean, it's taken shall we say, forensic analysis or criminal investigators to suggest some things being done as it pertains to this. So I don't have, an accurate description of how well the sheriff is doing, but it's not looking too good. Not looking good at all. So I hope Nancy Guthrie is okay. I'm very nervous that an 84-year-old who requires a pacemaker and requires daily medication now at the hands of who knows who. I mean, this is very, very frightening. And so the family is pleading. They say, we beg you now to return our mother to us so we could celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. And the abductors are now demanding $6 million, which, again, is kind of interesting because there were these ransom notes and then there were these different deadlines. You would think they would have just made it simple. Say, this is what we want. Give it to us now. And so I'm kind of unclear why there were all these, steps. But we'll keep you posted. The family says they're willing to pay. So hopefully they get her back today. 1-877-Doc-Dolly. Don't go away.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by financial fitness show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.